Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I am going to be talking to you guys all about SEINT IIID. So if you guys didn't know already, I recently signed up to become a SEINT IIID artist. And what that basically means is that I'm able to help color match women to create their own custom makeup palette that looks like this. There's a whole bunch of different options just depending on what your needs are, what your preferences are, and just how much makeup you want to have. So the cool thing about SEINT IIID, they started off with all cream makeup, and the whole concept behind it is that it is a 3D foundation look. So basically, like with your traditional makeup, we tend to apply so many layers, which is the reason why we can sometimes in person tend to look so cakey and tend to feel like we have a mask on. With SEINT IIID, their whole motto is making women not only look beautiful, but also feel beautiful. So anyways, this was something that I kind of stumbled upon on Instagram, and when I saw it, I knew that it was something that I wanted to try, and something that I've kind of been looking for a really long time, because I tend to get ready on the go a lot, and I don't always have time to just sit there and play with my makeup. And I feel like because of that reason, I haven't been able to do my makeup as much as I wanted to in the year 2020, because once we went back to somewhat of a normal life, I was so busy all the time, and when I did have time to do my makeup, it was probably 10-15 minutes. So for the most part, I was always doing it in the car. I was just doing something really fast, but I never was content with the way that it looked, because with traditional makeup, you apply so many different layers. You have to put on a base layer, which is your foundation, then you put on concealer, and then you set all of that. You can put on cream product on top of that if you want to, and then you have to put on powder products if you're more on the oily side, and then you're just putting on all these layers and you tend to look so cakey. But with SEINT IIID and their 3D foundation routine, all of their cream products, including their contour and blush, add coverage to the face. So all you're doing is you're applying the makeup in the areas that you want it to be, and then just blend everything together. So instead of putting on a foundation shade that's going to even you out and then applying other layers on top, it's all technically all just one layer that you're putting on and blending in, and it just creates a seamless, perfect makeup look without looking or feeling cakey at all. And I am all about that. In the year 2020, I discovered cream makeup, and I was obsessed with how beautiful it looked. Looked so natural, so radiant, so dewy on the skin. So when I saw this, I knew that it was something that I needed to have in my life, and I am so glad that I decided to become an artist, because people always would come to me and ask me for different makeup recommendations. I've even had people ask me, can you help me create a whole entire makeup routine, but I want to keep it under this certain amount of money, because makeup is really expensive. Let's just be honest. Even if you're buying drugstore, when you're buying a whole entire routine of makeup, it can be very expensive. But the great thing with SEINT IIID is that it is, I wouldn't say it's affordable, in the sense of it's only going to be $10 to create a palette, but compared to other makeup, you can create a really solid, good routine for under $100, which is really, I think, a great price point for how much makeup you can get for under $100. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my routine and kind of talking a little bit more in depth on how you apply this makeup. If you are new to SEINT IIID, this will definitely help you, and you guys can kind of see it in action. I am gonna do the most with this, so I usually have a few different routines just depending on how much time I have. I have my natural day-to-day makeup, no makeup look. Then I had a little bit extra time, but I didn't have too much time. Then I have my full glam makeup look, I'm doing a bold eye and everything. So that is what we're going to be doing today. So if you guys are interested in seeing this in action, then just continue watching. I'm going to go ahead and start off by priming my face. So I'm using the Glossier Priming Moisturizer Balance. This is the oil-free gel cream. So it's a little sample that I got because I purchased the original priming moisturizer from Glossier to put in my freelance kit. So I was able to pick out a sample, and this is what I wanted to try out just to see if this was something that I wanted to add to my kit as well for my oilier skin types. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply that onto my face, and we're just going to use this as our primer. We don't really necessarily need a primer. I do have large pores, so I could use a primer, but with this makeup, I feel like it doesn't emphasize your pores more than anything else would. So this is a really lightweight moisturizer. For sure, I definitely think it would be great for oily skin because it doesn't feel greasy at all, but I feel still nice and hydrated. So I'm gonna let that sit for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and fill in my eyebrows. So really quick, I'm just gonna perfect my brows a little bit more. So I'm gonna actually go into my palette here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and take my highlight shade. So the way that this brand labels their things is their foundations are known as highlights because you're highlighting your face with color, and then obviously their contour is contour. And then their, what we would know as highlighters are known as illuminators, which is also another name for highlighters, but that way you kind of differentiate it. So the way that it works is it's like a highlighting and contouring technique to create your custom foundation that's gonna match you perfectly and look really natural and be just one layer. So instead of applying like 20 different layers of product, you're only applying the one layer. So once I have that on, I'm just gonna blend it with my sponge to pick up any excess product. And I'm just gonna set my eyes real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how I create my custom foundation, basically, I guess you could say. So with this product, because it is cream, you do want to make sure that you're using the right brushes. You could use the synthetic brushes that you already have if you want to, but I highly recommend their brushes because they are a lot more dense and tightly packed, and they're also double-sided. So like one of these brushes basically you can use for multiple different things, so you don't have to like grab so many different brushes. So that's what makes this makeup so much faster, is the fact that everything is really efficient, which is what I'm all about. So the fact that we have all of our makeup in one palette makes it so much faster because we're not having to dig through like a caboodle like this full of makeup, or a makeup bag full of makeup to find what you need. They do have a few different brushes. This one is known as their 3D brush, which is gonna be your basic brush to create the most natural look with a 3D foundation. This one is known as the buff brush, which this is gonna give you the most fullest coverage because it is the smallest brush, or like the most tightly packed brush. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys what I do. So I personally like color correcting because I feel like color correcting is gonna, one, it's gonna even out any like discoloration in your skin. So it's gonna allow you to apply way less makeup on top of that, and it's gonna perfect your skin. So honestly, like after you color correct, like you shouldn't be able to see the color corrector on your face at all. If you do it right, you should only be using like the tiniest little amount to be able to color correct your skin. So it just kind of evens everything out, neutralizes any problems. So I personally like doing that because as a woman of color, I get like this, I call it the 5 o'clock like goatee shadow around my mouth, even though I do tend to like get rid of my peach fuzz, but it's just because it's something that's really common in women of color. Whenever you apply your foundation, like this part of my skin right here is way lighter than this color here. So if I'm applying this color around my mouth, it's gonna create like an ashier appearance. So I color correct this because it has a little bit of blueness in here with an orange shade, and that's gonna cancel it out and make it look a lot more even. So once I apply the color that matches me here, it's gonna look more even. I'm gonna go in with the buff brush. So I'm gonna take the highlight shade right here in the shade called Papaya. So you guys can see this is way darker than my skin tone. It's super orange, but we only need the smallest bit. I'm taking the small side of that, and I'm gonna grab it on my finger, on my brush, and I'm just gonna go ahead and blend that into any areas that are dark. So underneath my eyes right here, I tend to get like these bluish purple bags. Sometimes they can tend to look a little bit red. So if they look red, then I'll apply a little bit of a green based contour shade. And I'll show you guys that in a second because I'm gonna color correct all of my face. And I have this little acne scar from a pimple from like a few weeks ago. So I like taking my finger to apply that, and I just blend it out. And then you can grab your sponge and blend everything. This is their Perfector Sponge. It is $12, which isn't bad for a sponge. I really like it. I feel like it works well with the makeup. But as long as your sponge is nice and dense and isn't like super flimsy, like this one, as you guys can see, when I grab it like this, it doesn't just bend over, which means that it is dense. And I think that's what works best with these products, is dense tools like brushes and sponges. So you can get this one, or if you have something similar, like the Cheetah HAC one is very similar to this, but I do like the size of this and it's just very convenient. brilliant. So then I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of this shade right here. This is called Olive. It is actually one of their contour shades, but I'm gonna use it to correct the redness around my nose. And the way that you do this, again, is just using the tiniest bit of product. And green cancels out red. So that is why this works so well. I don't do this all the time. I do this whenever I remember, honestly, because the redness in my skin is mostly around my nose, so it doesn't bother me too much. So there we go. Then I'm gonna show you guys how to do this with the 3D brush. This is the one that I use the most, because I usually don't like a fuller coverage. I like more of a medium coverage, and since we color corrected, I am gonna get a little bit more coverage out of that. So I like to start off with my highlight shade, because I feel like if you start off with your highlight shade, then you can see the contours in your face a little bit easier. So I'm going to take this shade right here called Wheat. It does have a little bit of a yellow undertone, which I really like for underneath my eyes, because I feel like it really gives me that nice bright look. So I'm just taking that on the tip here, and I'm going to go ahead and press that into my skin. I find that pressing it gives you the most coverage. And to get rid of the brush marks, I like using the sponge, but you can use the other side of the 3D brush to get rid of those brush marks. You guys are gonna see how simple and fast this is. I'm gonna try not to cut out any of this video just so you guys can see it, but I do tend to like over explain a lot, so I'm sorry about that. I also like putting it on my chin right here, and I like to put it on the middle of my forehead. Gives me some nice dimension. And then last but not least, I always put it down the middle of my nose. I'm actually going to take my finger to do that because it's a lot easier and I have a little more control. And I will tell you, your fingers are actually going to give you the most coverage, I find, with this product, besides the buff brush. I think the buff brush definitely gives you a little more. So there's that. So then I'm going to go ahead and take that same brush, and I'm going to grab my main highlight shade, which is called Goddess. So this is what we would refer to as our foundation shade, while this shade right here is what we would consider our concealer shade. So obviously you don't have to do the brightening. I just like it because I feel like it adds more dimension to the skin and it really wakens up underneath your eyes. So I'm going to apply that right here. I'm just going back and forth and applying that. Same thing on this side, right here. And since we are applying multiple colors, if the shade does look like a little tiny bit dark, once you blend everything together, it tends to blend so seamlessly that it looks really natural and it won't look dark anymore. So like this shade here, Goddess, is like the teensiest, tiniest bit too dark for me, but because I put on Wheat, I feel like that kind of helps to counteract it and make it look more like my skin color. And with this makeup, if your makeup is the wrong shade, you will notice that it's gonna make you look like you have texture that you don't really have. It's gonna make you look like ashy probably. It'll emphasize any pores and make them look worse. While if it is the right shade, it won't do any of that. It's just gonna look just like skin. It's not even gonna look like you put anything on. So I'm just putting some of this on my forehead, and I also make sure to put this right here on my cheeks too. Then I'm gonna go ahead and take my contour shade, which is this shade right here called Indigo. As you guys can see, it does look really dark, but even if you apply too much with this product, since it is cream, it just blends in so nicely. And if you use your Perfector Sponge, it'll pick up any excess. So even if you put way too much, it's gonna cover that up. So what I like to do with my contour shade is I'm taking the other side here, and this is where my cheekbone is. I apply it just a little bit higher than where my cheekbone is, like right around here. And that is gonna make sure that when I blend, it has space to like spread out and it's not gonna look too muddy and it's not gonna go too low. So you just wanna go a little bit higher than where your actual cheekbone is. And again, this does have coverage on it, so I didn't have to apply foundation right here. And it is gonna look kind of crazy when you first do it. And the great thing about this is, since it is cream makeup, I feel like it is really easy to kind of like maneuver and be able to fix any areas if you accidentally put something too low or put it in the wrong place or apply too much of anything. Obviously this is taking me a lot longer than this usually probably would because I'm stopping to explain things, but this usually takes me like 5 minutes. And I'm putting this on my chin here just because I like it to add a little more like definition to my jawline. And you could blend it out with the brush if you wanted to, just to save you time. If you don't have time to do it with the brush or the sponge, you could do it with the brush. And then you could either use your fingers or you could use a skinny brush to do your nose contour. They actually have a contouring brush, but I don't have that one. So I'm just gonna use this Luxie synthetic brush. I would use my fingers, but because I have long nails, I can't get in this area right here. So what I do with my nose contour is instead of applying it right here on the side, I apply it right on the top of my nose. And that's gonna make it look a lot thinner. And actually like define the natural bones in our nose right there. And then just depending on your nose shape is how you would do the bottom. So I like doing this little triangle thing because I have more of a bulbous nose, which means that it's a little more rounder. I kind of make it a little more straight. So that is what we're looking like right now. It looks super, super crazy. And you've probably seen 1,000,001 face charts before in your life where you see the highlighting and contouring. This is the exact same concept, except you don't have to apply a base foundation shade or concealer shade to create this. You just apply the colors where you need them and then you blend it out and it's flawless. So I'm gonna take the Perfector Sponge. This is gonna blend this out super fast. All right, you can see how that's already blended out on that side. Okay. Then I'm gonna do my nose real quick. I'll leave my nose for last, just so I have a little more control with it, and so that I don't move my contour too much. And then if you ever wanna like emphasize like your cheekbones to make them look a little bit more snatched, you can go back in with your main shade or a brightening shade. Just put that right underneath your cheekbone, and that's gonna give you more of a snatched look. Super fast and easy. You can see that like my whole entire makeup is pretty much done. Then I'm just gonna apply blush. I like doing the blush for last, but you can actually put the blush on while you have the other colors on before you blend it out. I just like doing it for last just because I want to add a little more coverage around here, especially since I have a little acne scar. So that's just something that I do. But again, like as you're playing with it, you'll figure out kind of what works best for you. And as an artist, I am here to help you figure out what works best for you, whether if I do that in person or over the phone or however is best for you. So then I'm gonna go ahead and take this shade right here called Nude, which is a very popular lip and cheek color. So with cream products, any cream product, usually like a cream blush, you can use as a lip color. So that's the same concept with this. And I'm just gonna go ahead and apply that onto my cheekbone right there. And I wanna create more of a rounded look because I want it to look a little bit more doll-like. But then I'm also gonna kind of bring it back towards my contour just to kind of give me more of that snatched illusion. And what I do as an artist too is I actually send you your own personalized face chart that's gonna show you where the colors would need to be applied according to your face shape. Because sometimes like we see face charts and we try to follow that and then we do it and it doesn't work because that face chart wasn't created for your face shape. So then I'm taking the bottom of the sponge and I'm just gonna blend in the blush just so it's nice and natural looking. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take a little setting powder really quick. So I'm just using the setting powder that they have. This is their vanilla setting powder. I find that it's best for combination or drier skin or normal skin. If you have oilier skin, you might want something a little bit more in a loose setting, like a loose powder. And I'm gonna go ahead and set underneath my eyes, around my nose right here where I tend to get oily, a little bit on my forehead just because I don't want it to look too shiny. And all I do is just press that powder where I want it. But I don't set my whole entire face with powder because I feel like that's what makes us look cakey. Just kind of depending on you, again, is whether you need to set your face at all or more on the dry side, you probably wouldn't want to do that. So that's what that looks like. And then they do have a cream illuminator. All of their cream illuminators do give a sheer coverage. So it's just gonna kind of give you that like lit from within look. This is the shade Pearl. I like using my finger to apply it because I just feel like I have more control that way. And that's gonna be more of your natural look. Then they also have powdered highlighters too. So I like taking my beauty sponge as it's damp, and I take the tip of it and take some of that powder and I just apply it right on top to my cheekbones. And the reason why I like doing this with the sponge is it's because it helps the product melt and look more like skin. So you guys see that blinding glow. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my makeup, and then I just have a few other things to mention to you guys. Alrighty, so I just went ahead and did my makeup really quick. I just wanted to show you guys what my makeup is looking like now that I have the rest of my makeup on. You guys can see that it still gave me really good coverage where I look really nice and defined and has still that like glamorous look, but it is super lightweight. Doesn't feel heavy at all. I just wanted to mention really quick before I ended this video that if you guys again want to get color matched, it's super easy to do. I will have a link down below. All you have to do is send me a makeup-less selfie in front of a window about an arm's length away, and you want to make sure there's no artificial lighting on behind you because it can create a really weird cast. And also, if you guys want more tips and tricks and whatnot, I do have a few videos on Instagram, and I also have a bunch of different resources on my Facebook page, so you guys can follow that as well. And let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see next. I think the next one that I'm going to show you guys is how to apply your full face with just your fingers and a sponge, which is one of my favorite techniques when I am pressed for time. So that is all that I have for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until then.